An inexperienced player. What happened? Masterclass episode 2, where we teach you the basics of odds, what it means to be a sharp, what is CLV, and variance.
The odds in the sports market are based on the probability that an event will occur. And it is also the amount of times you expect to see that outcome with a high volume of trials. The key concept here is high volume. We all know that the odds of a coin flip are 50-50, but that's only after you flip it 10,000 times or so. You can still get heads or tails several times in a row over a series of flips, but in order to get that true average, you must flip the coin as many times as you can. This is an incredibly important concept to understand before moving on.
In sports betting, these probabilities convert into something called odds, and there are multiple odds languages, just like the metric system and the imperial system of measurements. You've got American odds in the US, and you've got fractional and decimal odds in the rest of the world. These probabilities then convert into something called betting lines, which are used to wager money. So the simplest way of converting probabilities into betting lines is by utilizing a calculator. So when we head over to OddsJam.com and we click on calculators, odds converter calculator, we get this page right here. If you want to understand the exact formula and all the little details, you can read this entire page here and you'll get a more mathematical understanding of how you do that. But it's very simple. Let's say we have something that has a 45% probability. That means that the betting line will be plus 122 in American, 2.22 in decimal, and 1.22 in fractional. Let's say if we have something that has a probability of, 56%, the betting lines in American will be minus 127, in decimal 1.79, and in fractional 0.79. Same thing goes vice versa. Let's say you have a betting line in America that it's plus 120, so we go to plus 120. That means the probability goes to 45.45. And if you could go negative lines too, let's say we have a negative 135 line, the probability is 57. So anything with minus money, it will be above 50%, and anything with plus money will be below 50%. That's the easiest way to understand that.
The way sports books make their money is by charging a vig or juice. Think of it as a tax, so they make a profit regardless of the outcome of an event. They want equal and opposite action on both sides of a wager and adjust their lines accordingly due to supply and demand.
It's important to note the books could care less if the game goes over or under. They just want to make sure that there is equal action on both sides, acting as a middleman. Let's go over a real-time example so you can understand this.
So you can see here in this game, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, all of these books are giving different prices for their lines, okay? So let's just take Tipico for example. Tipico is charging the over at minus 120 and the under at plus 100. Using OddsJam, which I've already got pulled up here in another tab, they have a calculator tool called No Vig Fair Odds Calculator where we're going to remove the vig. So Tipico has minus 120 on the over and they have plus 100 on the under. So you can see here, converting the no vig percentage into no vig fair odds, the fair odds should be more like minus 109, whereas Tipico is actually charging minus 120. This is how the sports books make their money. So sharps are informed, experienced, profitable sports bettors. Sharps are essentially professional bettors, but they don't necessarily label themselves as such. Anyone who calls themselves a professional bettor and not a sharp bettor, you need to be weary of.
A big part of sharp betting includes beating the CLV and betting with positive expected value. The reason why more people don't quit their day job to become professional bettors is because it's a lot easier said than done. In reality, less than 1% of sports bettors are profitable long term. It requires discipline, preparation, time, and strict bankroll management.
Pinnacle Sports is the most popular bookie amongst professional and high-stakes sports bettors. It is known for offering some of the sharpest odds in the industry thanks to the insane amount of volume that is wagered in that book, and because of this, Pinnacle has some of the lowest vig in the entire industry. Sharp sports bettors abide by Pinnacle's reduced juice odds to be the fair probabilities of an outcome. To summarize this, one of the few ways of profiting in sports betting is by constantly beating Pinnacle's unjuiced fair odds, hunting with software for when the soft books have discrepancies in the betting lines they set.
In simplest terms, a square or square bettor is an inexperienced player or a player who does not bet with the concepts we've already talked about. Squares will lose money betting on sports long term. A square bettor will look at player stats, team hot streaks, and pursue advice from ESPN or some random online website. They try to formulate their own strategy based on logic. Little do they know, all of this is already baked into the line they are betting on. It is much easier said to be a square bettor than a sharp bettor because it's the path of least resistance. It's also the path that leads to losing money. Don't be a square. 99% of the people who bet on sports fall into this category. We aren't going to let you become one.
CLV stands for closing line value. In other words, it's the very last price of the odds before a game starts. Beating the closing line is fundamental in long-term positive EV betting. You basically are looking for discrepancies in other sports books where the odds are not what they should be in comparison to the sharpest books in the world. Pinnacle being the most important book to constantly beat. A few others to consider include BetCris and Circa. It's also important to note that some books are sharper than others in specific sports. OddsJam does a really good job of giving you a weighted edge percentage for users to choose which bets to take in regards to this. So I'm going to show you guys an example of beating the closing line. So here today we have Washington Wizards versus the Portland Trailblazers first half money line. We can take the Wizards at plus 120 for a 3% edge, so let's just log it for $15, right? So we're going to save this. I'm going to now go to my bet tracker. Let's go to bet tracker, scroll down. So here we have our bet logged in our bet tracker. You can see here that we have better odds in the closing line. We're getting plus 120. The CLV currently, after the Novig odds from OddsJam is incorporated here, is at plus 115. Thus, at this moment in time, we are currently beating the closing line.
Variance is the deviation from the true average. The simplest way of understanding this is with a coin flip. We all know that the odds of a coin flip are 50-50, but this is only after you flip the coin 10,000 times or so. Within those trials, you can get heads or tails many times in a row. This can be in your favor or against you. Some people equate variance to risk. While this is not exactly true, the correlation is obvious. The higher the variance, the higher the risk of losing money long term.
So every sharp will experience variance no matter what system they follow, whether it be a syndicate model or positive EV betting with OddsJam. This is Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong, will go wrong. So just get ready for losing streaks because they're inevitable. This is when your discipline and consistency will be tested. There's a reason why only 1% withstand the test of time.
You'll need a sample size of thousands of bets to properly determine the profitability of a system. You can have an incredible run with 500 bets, and you can have a terrible run with 500 bets following the same exact model. All sharps understand the concept of volume and long-term very clearly. You work every day to pay yourself at the end of a betting season. Think semesters, not weeks.
Man, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. On the next one, we're going to teach you guys how to get started with OddsJam. It's got to be the one.